Miss Marvel is one step closer to finding out the secrets behind her family. What is up, everybody? This is the Jersey Comic Crew. Hope you're having a fantastic evening. This is your spoiler warning. We're going to talk about episode 4 of Miss Marvel and all the events that happen in it. So if you haven't watched that episode, please be prepared because spoilers are coming. Now, Chris, I love what they did at the beginning of this episode. Her going to Pakistan to visit her grandmother. And the way that MCU is doing this representation of the Middle East is very well done. I enjoyed all the little aspects of her family life, from the conversation with all of her cousins she hasn't seen in a while, the grandmother-mother relationship. I think Marvel is doing a great job at setting up this family values for Miss Marvel, which is very important to her in the comics, and that's translating very well into the MCU.
I agree, Rob. I think they've done this almost perfectly where, you know, most movies and TV shows, you go to another country, like there's that joke about every time we go to Mexico in a show, it's yellow.
Yes.
And you go to like the Middle East and it's all desert, right? Like, no, there are major cities, there's life, there's a bunch of people, there's beautiful culture going on. We saw that a lot in Moon Knight when they went to Egypt. A lot of that awesome kind of scenery they were going by, and like the city life and the hustle and bustle. And now we get that in Pakistan as well. And I love the grandmother. Like, she comes by and she's like, "Oh, you should be in bed." She's like, "I was at a party. It's fine."
Yes,
you know, like, just
she's great.
More great, like, quirky family members that are just lovable immediately. And her cousins, who's like, you know, they're both kind of nerdy and like, you know, also making fun of her for being so Americanized, which I love. So yeah, I thought they got up to a great start. I will say, Rob, this is the end of last episode, the beginning of this episode. There is one thing I actually don't like about this show that I wanted to talk to you about.
I don't think you're allowed to be on the show anymore. You're gone. Nobody. There has not been a bad thing about this show since the beginning.
But I'm a co-creator. But so the only thing I don't like is right now Nakia's reaction to Kamala. How many times have we done the whole, "Oh my God, you're a superhero like person. How could you not tell me?" That's kind of the superhero trope as you're trying to figure out your entire life. Like, I'm kind of over this.
So I don't think that's too big of a deal, because in the MCU, it's not really that prevalent, right? They're like, "Oh, the best friend finds out you're a superhero. How can you do this to me? I'm going to be mad at you." Like, the last one that I could think of was Ned finding out that Peter was Spider-Man. And what happens? "Oh my God, you're my best friend. We're going to do things together. Oh, let's do this."
And he broke that 18,000 feet Death Star, and we all cried. But like,
I mean, and then Zendaya finding out, and they're like, "That's fine. I already knew about it. I'm not going to hate you against it." And then they fall in love. Like, I think the whole stereotype of like people finding out and hating that person isn't really prevalent in the MCU. And I think it's actually a breath of fresh air that we're getting that here, because everybody wants to be a part of the superhero world nowadays.
True. I get what you're saying. I guess for me, it's just such an old trope from all the superhero stuff we've ever gotten forever. And if you're like me, who's absorbed all of it since the beginning of time, it's just like, I don't know if we need to go back to that. And I love Nakia as a character and who she is, and, you know, becoming a part of the board at the mosque, and like the best friend and her background. I just, maybe it's also her character. It doesn't feel like it meshes well with someone who is that kind of intelligent and up to date and just kind of moving things forward. It just seemed very kind of like, really? Like, you're going to be mad you can't see why this is.
And she's not responding to text at all when she's in the plane.
Yeah, like,
I get it.
It seemed like a girl who was very mature for her age, and someone who is kind of already on top of things, regressing to a little bit of an immaturity complex. So that's where I kind of have a problem. But that's the only thing. Everything else I love.
That's fair. Circling back to her family dynamics, I wanted to ask you a question about the grandmother, which we all established. She's fantastic. We love her to death. Nothing better happened to her. But she's seeing these visions of the train, right? And she's aware of the djinn. It's not really a big deal to her. Do you think this was all planned from the beginning, right? Like, she sent Kamala the bangle, right? There's a reason why she wanted Kamala to get the bangle. And maybe it was an excuse for Kamala to come back so she could reconnect with her daughter, because we know there was tension there. We saw, like, the mother crying at the end, which very well done in her character arc.
Yep.
Or do you think it's just like family focus, or maybe there's something more that's why she's planning it, if she is at all?
I do think there is definitely a connection here. I think the grandmother is a wise old bird, as they say, and she sent that bangle because we do find out in this episode that her grandmother has been searching for answers still, right? Yeah. She says that in that really deep conversation with Kamala's mother, her own daughter. You know, "I'm still wondering what's going on. I still don't know. Why did you leave?" "Oh, I left because you were crazy. You kept all these theories, and I needed a mother, and you were too busy like scaring people off and kind of, making the thought of the family, in ruin kind of thing. And her grandmother tells Kamala that I still don't know fully what the hell's going on. I've been searching for my whole life, and I still don't have all the answers while living in that massive house, and I don't know why they would live in Jersey City. So, but I think there is a connection. I think there's a reason she sent the bracelet, possibly to see if it would react to Kamala as a new generation. Sure. And I do agree that there is some part of it where it's like, maybe this will get my daughter back, and we can kind of finally hash this out and see where we stand at the end of this. And hopefully my daughter understands more, and she still doesn't know about Kamala, and I'm still waiting for that.
I'm sure that's all going to come undone very, very soon about Kamala having superpowers. But Kamala essentially is sent on this journey from the grandmother. She's like, I don't know anything. Come here, go figure it out yourself. And she eventually runs into the Red Daggers, right? And then the Red Dagger is a very prominent character in Kamala's comic book and history. But in the story here, I really enjoyed like seeing the secrets and like this order that was here to protect them. They're aware of the Jinn. It's not just a family thing. There's more people involved. It's bigger than just Kamala and Kamala's family. The fact that there's a dimension like right on top of our own, and there's this weird cool map that shows like this alien kind of like technology city. It reminds me almost of the Deviants from the Eternals, the way the organicness of the building looks, which is really cool to see. It's unfortunate that one of the Red Daggers did die. I was rooting for him. I didn't think he would die.
Yeah, I was too, because I was hoping he would be like the guy who trains Kamala or like answers a bunch more questions. But I did love seeing the Red Daggers in this, almost as like, reminded me of an Assassin's Creed guild, right? A Creed,
a little bit.
A Creed brotherhood of assassins that are, maybe they have like different spots all over the country or something. So Kareem in the comics is the Red Dagger in Marvel Comics. It's not a guild, it's just him. He kind of protects Pakistan streets at night. He, in the comics, goes to Jersey City and becomes a foreign exchange student to get some credits, and he kind of helps Kamala out there. He stays with her family. So there is that connection. But I love what they did with the show where they expanded it, and we had this great, like, internal guild. I really want that sand computer, that 3D sand.
Whatever that is. That thing
whatever the hell that thing is. But I do think there is an underlying Easter egg, something of this dimension, Rob, and I thought of a couple things the second it popped up. The first thing I thought of was Secret Wars, was Battle World. Like dimensions and worlds colliding. All this stuff where, Battle World in the comics is the place where all these different places from different planes of existence collide, and you have different versions of a billion of these Marvel characters. So
I can see that happening down the line.
Kamala was obviously born in this plane of existence. I think she is a 616 character, but her family lineage is from somewhere else. So that's why this power is starting to manifest and kind of control her and physically affect her the way it does.
You mentioned that Kareem, goes foreign exchange, comes back to America, Jersey City, to hang out and do all that kind of stuff. Do you think that's going to also happen in the MCU? Because we're at a point now where we're gathering teenage superheroes. Why not have another one with this like kind of ninja skill set, which I think would be really cool to see them work together with Hawkeye and all this kind of stuff if they're building this young Avengers team, which it kind of seems like MCU is kind of building all these little startup of teams throughout the entirety of the universe. Or do you think he's just going to stay in Pakistan, he's going to do his own thing, and, we're just going to see him in Miss Marvel properties?
I think he's just going to be mostly Miss Marvel for now. He's not that big of a character yet, even in the Miss Marvel comics, right? He's kind of like a side character. But I do think it's going to be integral for while she's in Pakistan, right? We didn't see Bruno at all in this episode. We didn't see, we didn't see my favorite character, Kamala's dad. Like all those characters and her brother are still in Jersey. So I think when Kamala goes back to Jersey, I don't necessarily think he's going to go. I think he's going to have to kind of, be the person who continues the guild of Red Daggers and figures that out there. And also, we have a lot of characters we have to deal with back home, right? We have the Bruno situation. Did he go to Caltech? Yeah. We have also Kamran, who is someone we don't know really what's going on with him right now. He was left behind. So there's a lot of stuff to figure out at home. But I think right now it's almost like that Moon Knight scenario, right? You're kind of
setting him up for later kind of deal.
Setting him up for later, out of your comfort zone in a new place, and figuring out kind of the backstory.
Before we switch to the clandestine and the Jinn and all the stuff that happened at the end of this episode, her bangle says, "What you seek is seeking you," kind of deal.
Yeah.
Do you think that plays directly into the Vision scene, where like, oh, because you want to see what this Vision is, you're gonna go and see it, or do you think like some entities after her? Like, I have no idea what this means. I don't even have enough information to formulate what this phrase might mean, aside from like, oh, if you're seeking information, you're gonna be physically transported into a vision. Do you have any theories on what this might mean, this phrase?
Yeah, I do have one, and that's kind of deep cut thought based.
Sure.
But it seems to be kind of the message of this bangle is what she puts out there, right? In like a lifestyle meaning. What you seek out is what you'll get in return. What
like the secret, like what you put out in the universe, you're gonna get, kind of deal.
Kind of, but in a literal sense for her, right? Like what it's almost like I've been saying, similar to a Green Lantern ring. Like what you think about, what you focus on is what you're able to conjure. And I think that's kind of with the bangle, with the power set and her focus, right? She went to Pakistan in part to figure out that vision of the train.
Sure.
And by the time we get to the end, we see the train. So what she's seeking out is kind of what you'll find, what you put your energy towards, what you focus on, whether it's positivity, negativity. I think that's all kind of combined in almost like this overall mission statement of this bangle. So I do think it has something to do with her powers, how she could focus them, and kind of going through, like, you know, she's kind of training on the job right now because she doesn't have time to breathe. She's getting attacked 24/7. But I do think it has something to do with what her mind is focused on and how that conjures through the bangle, and hopefully get some answers for that in the next episode.
Our last little bit, we got to talk about the vision, right? I mentioned it right just before. She is physically in the vision, or she got teleported in the past. She sees the train during partition. I'm sure she's going to run into her family, or at least see the family. My biggest question, I guess, is the same question all of you guys have. Is she actually back in time? Is she the one that created a star path to save the family, and somehow she teleported back in time? Or is she just fully immersed in this vision, and that's going to allow her to move forward? I don't know.
Yeah, so one thing I was looking at very carefully while watching this when she went back was if she was interacting with other people.
Yeah.
And I don't mean having conversations like screaming. I mean, if people could bump into her, if people saw her, if people, you know, were like, why is this girl dressed so weird? You know what I mean? Like, whatever the case was, you know, why is she climbing on top of the train? I didn't see any type of interaction.
Yeah.
So I don't think she's specifically in that time. I think she is fully immersed in the vision, almost like, you know, the magical sense of how Tony Stark made that, you know, hologram simulator. So I think she's fully immersed in the vision. I think the activation is also part of the damage that the bangle took with that dagger, and also the connection that they have to that plane of existence, right? We know they've been looking for the bangle forever to activate it, to use it to help them get home, yada, yada, yada. But maybe that power of the bangle gets heightened when they're in close proximity with people from another dimension. Najma did mention in the last episode that the further they are away, the less their power set kind of resides in them, and they could kind of just feel it and sense it.
I'm very sure that in the next episode, we're going to go ahead and see Kamala do all the stuff back in time. She's going to come out. I'm going to know information. Going to send it to her grandmother. Like, hey, this is what actually happened.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the next episode. This show has been such a feel-good vibe for me. I enjoy it every bit, and I'm looking forward to it because I'm like, this is what I want in the MCU. Aside from, like, yes, we're getting the crazy monster stuff like that, the coming-of-age story for this young Middle Eastern girl in America, and just having a fun teenage experience while you're getting powers. This is part of the reason why we read and love superhero stuff.
Absolutely. It's just a feel-good, like we've been saying, right? It's like Spider-Man without all the death and depression. I am totally engulfed in the mysteries of this show, and I hope you guys are as well.
We want to hear your thoughts and theories down in the comments below. What did you think of Miss Marvel Episode 4? What are your theories for what's going to happen next?
And guys, thanks so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up, like, really helps the channel out a lot. If you are new, subscribe, turn on notifications. You don't want to miss any more of our talks about Miss Marvel, about Disney Plus shows, about the MCU. And if you missed anything, it's right here on the channel for you always. And as always, I'm Chris Heller. That's Rob Moran with the Jersey Comic Crew, and we'll see you next time.